Good afternoon, and welcome to today's webinar on incident investigation being provided to you by the Texas Municipal League Intergovernmental Risk Pool. My name is Randy Garza, and I will be your host for this afternoon. When we think of incident investigation, I think about things that could occur wrong in any of our member entities. So when I think about this, I think about us having to go back to the basics in any incident investigation. Let's talk about some of these basic concepts. Well, first, we look at safety, and it's based on one simple concept, which is prevention. Our goal is to do our best and try and prevent losses from occurring. It could be in any areas. It can be in your workers' comp, it can be in your property liability, it could be in your auto coverages. Our goal is to do our best to try and prevent some of those issues from occurring. So let's talk about prevention and what it is. Prevention is defined as an action that stops something from happening or something that acts to prevent something. Well, a key component to prevent those incidents from occurring is to have a well-defined safety program. And what would we include in a safety program? Well, let's talk about some of those issues. Some of those issues would be a good incident investigation program. Well, looking at this, as we mentioned earlier, incident investigation is a tool of prevention known as an analysis and corrective measure or action. Why would we determine or conduct an incident investigation? Again, our goal is to try and prevent future occurrences. Incident investigation is one of the most essential elements of any health and safety program. So I ask you, if you don't have a health and safety program, contact one of your loss prevention reps and we can help you, provide you a sample or a model program to help your entity develop this type of program. So let's look at this even further. When we think of incident investigations, we think of being proactive versus reactive. Well, when we think of training, we think of those type of issues, that's being proactive. We want you to be able to provide these type of programs to prevent future incidents from occurring. Well, we understand that's not foolproof, so we see how sometimes being reactive could occur, whereas something happens and then now you have to do something. Well, let's talk about being more proactive. When we think of proactive measures, we talk about having written policies and procedures that can be followed and implemented to assure that your organization is following an incident investigation program. When we think of that, that is being proactive. Well, let's kind of look a little further. What is an incident? An incident is defined as any unplanned event that causes or has the potential to cause employee injury or property damage. We want to do our best to prevent, as I mentioned earlier, some of those issues from occurring. Now, when we look at investigation techniques and procedures, why do we investigate incidents? What are our goals, and why, as an organization, should we be investigating all issues or issues that occur? Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the purpose of an incident investigation. Again, when an incident occurs out there, our job as an organization is to look at what happened, and our goal is to try and prevent that from occurring again. It could be for any line of coverage that you have. It could be a workers' compensation claim. It could be a property general liability claim, or even an auto claim. But the goal is all accidents or incidents need to be investigated. So when you look at the key components of a true incident investigation, the first thing that we need to look at is to determine the root and underlying causes. What happened out there? Because again, we want to prevent these type of issues from occurring again in the future. So as we're looking at that, we want to make sure that we are investigating properly to determine what happened and what we as an organization can do to prevent these from occurring again. Another step, and when you really think about incident investigations, is we have to our goal is to protect the most valuable resource we have in an organization, and that is our employees. Again, when we talk about an incident investigation, and let's talk about maybe an employee that was injured as a result of an accident or an incident, we have to look at what happened to prevent that from reoccurring in the future. So again, looking at our employees to make sure, can we learn? Was there potential error? Was it a training issue? Was it a lack of equipment failure? There's all these concepts that we have to, as an organization, look at to determine what happened. Because again, I truly believe that employees don't get hurt on purpose. But our job as an organization is to protect our employees, and we need to give them the most basic tools out there to prevent and to minimize potential losses from occurring. Well, in this particular process of incident investigation, again, that whole policy or program, our goal is to look at, are we identifying areas of trends or things that need to be improved? When you're documenting these type of events and you're truly investigating these issues, you can look at what is occurring out there and you can determine, we are recognizing, let's just say, for example, during the summer months, and we know it's hot in Texas. We know that there could be an issue, a spike in potential heat-related losses. Again, this is where this particular program of looking at the basics and looking at what's occurring out there will help prevent and mitigate potential losses for your organization. Again, this program also, when you're investigating all incidents, you can always look at, are there ways to improve our current processes? Do we need to look at how we're doing things? By us investigating and caring about our employees, could this improve morale? Because we're showing them that we do care about our employees. Again, all this are key components in our program. And of course, the last one is to create awareness. We want to make sure our employees are aware of their surroundings, hazards associated with the tasks that they perform. Again, when things happen, we as an organization have to look at what's occurring, and again, with the whole concept of preventing, okay? Now, we talk about incidents, and again, we talk about what type should be investigated, and all of them should be investigated. You know, I have talked to different organizations that sometimes there is a dollar amount associated with investigating and looking at accidents that occur. I look at it a little differently, and what I want to encourage our members is to consider that any type of loss should be investigated, especially if it wasn't a budgeted loss. So we want to look at all our incidences and look at them and investigate any potential claim that occurs. Even minor incidences that do not result in injury could even lead to a more serious incident in the future. So we look at those that it's important to not put a dollar amount, but look at what happened, because the bigger picture could be, it could have been a lot worse. When we talk about when should they be investigated, well, it's as soon as possible. You think about things, environments, weather conditions, they change. Now, one thing that I would encourage y'all to consider is when an incident occurs, that you do your best to get out there within a reasonable amount of time. Because we know that if it's at night, we know that there's other variables that could be considered as far as what contributed to that incident. Weather, season, time of the day, there's a lot of variables to consider. So we want to get out there and capture that information as soon as possible while it's fresh on the employee's mind and other third parties that could be involved in the situation. As we talk about it, the goal is to obtain the information while you're at the scene and to make sure it's still fresh in the minds of the employees and witnesses. Now, let's talk a little bit about prompt reaction and response. We talk about some key components to consider. A timely incident investigation is critical. Now, what we normally see out there is the number between 24 to 72 hours, because 72 hours, that will allow for weekend and things of that sort when maybe your traditional 8 to 5 department is not open. but we want you to at least capture that information so you can be able to provide it to the necessary department at the next normal business day. Because all that information is going to help with our processes internally as well. So we want to make sure that a timely incident investigation is completed, okay? Once you have the injured parties have received medical attention, you need to make sure that the process should begin. We understand, as I mentioned earlier, that these type of incidents could occur after normal hours. The goal is to get that information to the right department as soon as possible so we internally can also start our internal processes. In cases where there's incidents without injury, we still need to look at this incident because, again, as I mentioned earlier, it could have been a lot worse. And again, to truly look at these losses, it's that what-if game. If it didn't happen here, could it happen again? And this time, would we not be as lucky? So remember that. We still need to look at these and look at them seriously. When we talk about another component in an incident investigation, it would be interviews. You know, where should the interviews be conducted? Well, you know, what I normally see is this. I see a supervisor talking to one of their employees and getting the facts. Again, it's a fact-finding mission. It's not fault-finding. That's not our job. Our job is to make sure we're getting the necessary information to be able to provide to all the key players that are involved in this. If it's an internal department or it's an external department, this is information that all parties need to have. And again, just the facts. Now, when we look at these things, make sure that you're getting all the necessary information. You know, it's important to get all this information because we may need to be looking at this because, again, not knowing if you have a safety committee or somebody that's actually looking at these incidents, we want to make sure that people are gathering this information, again, to ensure that everybody knows what happened and this is what all the facts were associated with this particular incident. And again, it says ask open-ended questions, you know, let them talk, let them share, don't make them nervous. Again, we just want to make sure that the information is accurate and what we can do to go ahead and process whatever things that we need to from an external department, but more so what y'all need to be looking at it internally. Additional factors to consider. Again, when you think about incidences, you want to make sure that you're looking at the time of the shift, okay? You know, depending on, you know, when you look at different types of work that's being performed in our organizations, you know, some of our organizations are operating 24 hours a day. So those are always issues to consider. Again, time constraints, you know. Unfortunately, we're very, very busy, but conducting an incident investigation is very, very important. So we need to make sure that we're allotting time to go ahead and get that done as well. You know, I talk about morale, and morale can be a factor in anything we do. But again, we want to make sure as an organization we're doing the very, very best for our employees because we want to show them that we care. We want to show them that we care about what happened because, again, we don't want them to be hurt. So that always is a very, very key component in anything we do. You know, sometimes, you know, you can consider that accidents or incidences occur because of inadequate staffing. You know, it's unfortunate that sometimes we have to do more with less. You know, or there's a shortage because people are out on vacations or out injured, you know, and that does put an additional hardship in our organization. So again, those are all things that would come out through this process of looking at this incident. And of course, sometimes changes in operations. You think sometimes they may be new to that task, new to that department. They're not familiar with the operations and the intricacies of that department. Again, we want to make sure that if we're going to have an employee perform a task, that they've been properly trained because we want to make sure that they understand completely what's expected of them. When we think about another key component in the investigation process is tools. What type of tools are we provided out there for our employees? What are we providing? Now, I know a lot of us have cameras now on our phones, but you know, is that the best thing to have for us? You know, it's nice that a lot of our employees have them, but maybe we as an organization need to maybe provide cameras, something to consider. But again, these are all things that will help paint a picture of what happened out there. Again, Cameras are very, very important out there. I was talking to a member that was talking about utility locates and the potential to damage those utilities or those fiber optic lines out there. And they have adopted now a new program where they're taking a picture before and after in that work site to ensure that they're not damaging or they're protecting their own interests. So again, that's a proactive measure, as we're talking about proactive versus reactive, but that's a good tool to protect the organization. So cameras are very, very important. Again, we talk about some other basics like a tape measure. If you're looking at truly within the lines, or we want to make sure that that's another tool that you can use. A scale, a flashlight, sample containers, warning tags and forms. One of the biggest things is a form, a document. If you don't have a document, one could be provided to you by TML, IRP. So I would ask you, if you don't have a sample form, contact your local loss prevention representative and they can assist you with one. So let's talk about this form. This is out of our sample program that we have here that's readily available for our members. And in there, this is a form that could be used for both workers' comp, personal injury, and property damage, an accident that could occur. Again, and it's very, very basic, but what we want to do, it covers what we identify are basic key elements in any incident investigation program. And that would be the who, the when, the where, the why, the what, and the how. So as you're looking through this form, you'll see different areas where you will fill out this information. And this is not necessarily a form that we would need. This is a form that y'all could use internally to try and prevent incidents from reoccurring. This is information that we see a lot of our members use, and if they have a formal safety program or if they have a safety committee that people are reviewing this information, they find it very useful for future training opportunities and, again, to prevent future losses from occurring. So this is a very, very good form that I would encourage our members to consider if you do not have a formal process in place. In there, again, it's basic. It covers, again, some key areas that y'all could just check off and you can use, and it's actually allows for a signature of a department head or a supervisor to be able to review that information. And I think it's very, very important that our supervisors are involved in this process. Our supervisors need to be looking at what's going on within their department because, again, they are the most important people out there when it talks about safety, being responsible for the people that you ultimately supervise. So, again, this information needs to be reviewed and filled out by a supervisor and then reviewed by a department head, and then whatever your internal processes may be, it would go up the chain. But, again, this form is a very, very important process in our incident investigation program. Let's talk a little bit about more of this. Again, if you don't have a formal policy, we can help you. We have a model program that can help you with this. And again, if you look at the overview, very, very simple. The work has been done for you. It's simply that you can type in your name, and if you like it, and you can tweak it to fit your organization. But again, a good program is going to have a model policy to follow because you want to ensure that all your employees understand what's expected of them and what's expected of the organization. Again, taking the guesswork out of it, you have to have formal policies in place to ensure an effective investigation program. In summary, let's talk about a little bit of this information. Again, we want to talk about a few key concepts. Remember the importance of safety. Safety is important in everything that we do. Our job here is to make sure you go home safe at night. That's our ultimate goal. Okay. Now the next thing is do your best to prevent incidents. Everybody is in the risk management profession in your organization, not just one person or somebody that has been assigned those responsibilities. Everybody needs to do their job to prevent incidents. We want to make sure if you see something out there, report it. If something occurs, document it. If something happened, review it. Again, those are all key components. Investigate all your incidents. You have to. Because again, as I mentioned earlier through this program, even something that didn't happen could have happened. Even something that happened and had a minor loss to it could have been worse, could have resulted in an unfortunate situation, even a fatality, something that we do not want to ever experience. So we need to look at all incidences that occur. And another one, implement a safety program. You know, we at the TML IRP can help you develop a program. We have a model plan that we can provide to you. It's on one of our resources on a jump drive, our toolbox that we can provide to you. I would ask you contact your local loss prevention representative and they can provide that to you. But in there, you have our model program that can be tweaked to fit your needs. It's very, very important to have a program in place to try and ensure safety and accountability for all your employees. Again, develop a policy. Sometimes having it written out there in black and white will ensure that I am making good choices and I'm following or I'm doing what's expected of me because the organization has identified what is expected of me and what is expected of them. And a key component in anything we do is the accountability factor. We have to be accountable for our actions. As an organization, as an employee, accountability is key in any type of program that we provide to our employees. I want to thank you all for allowing me to instruct this webinar this afternoon. If you have any questions regarding this program or any of our services, please contact our loss prevention department at 1-800-537-6655 or contact your local loss prevention representative, and we will be glad to assist you in any way possible. Thank you very much and have a good day.